Hello horror hounds, you know how it is. Sometimes you're in the mood to sit back and watch some cinematic art, like Jean Cocteau's Orpheus. Mwah. And other times you're standing in a charity shop and you see Embryo starring Rock Hudson. From a fetus to a woman in days. And you just know you're going to watch this motherfucker. It is films like this that make me wish that I was not doing this channel on my own. This might have been some fun to barrel through with a couple of cans of beer and a mate in a sort of Mystery Science Theatre 3000 kind of way. As it is, I had to endure it on my own. This is ironically coming off the back of reviewing all of Hammer's Peter Cushing Frankenstein movies. This is one of those movies that the 70s were obsessed with, updating the Frankenstein myth with modern technology and computers. Rock Hudson in this plays a widowed scientist who runs down a pregnant dog whilst driving home in a storm. There's a sentence I never thought I'd say, but what is it with dead wives all over the place? Fridging is a long established trope, and good lord, a dead wife, especially one never seen, only alluded to, just in a little fucking photo frame up there on the fireplace, as motivation for our complex male lead is so fucking lazy. Dead wife, dead girlfriend, dead daughter. I mean, just to be clear, our hero is totally not gay, right? He had a wife and everything. He had a girlfriend. Dude had kids. He's not gay, but now she's dead, so don't worry. He can still go off and have adventures now and maybe see some boobs. This film has driven me to drink. That's an exaggeration. You all know I was there already. Anyway, the dog's a goner, but luckily, Rock and his dead wife had spent decades researching techniques in how to speed the growth of premature embryos outside the womb. So he saves one of the little pups, a tiny little model puppy, sitting in a tank, taking it to 1 year's physical growth within the space of hours. And the next step, once that's a success, as any sane scientist will tell you, is to go straight to human trials. Luckily, Rock has a friend who works as an administrator in the local hospital, and this friend calls him up when they have an attempted suicide who they're not going to be able to save. Yay! Another dead woman to aid in guilt-free scientific progress. And the woman's pregnant, and the embryo's not going to survive. Rock can have the embryo, no questions asked. And within 4.5 weeks, he has grown this embryo to a woman with the physical age of 24. But don't worry, she doesn't have the mental capacity of a newborn or a child. No, she was educated using subliminal tapes while she was still developing. So she's a genius level, super smart woman. Therefore, it's not icky at all when she asks him to fuck her, and it's doubly not icky when he does fuck her straight away without any thought or consideration, not even a moment sort of like, yeah, I'll fuck you. You're 4.5 weeks old. Getting in that. Remember kids, he's totally not gay, but his wife is dead, so he's completely free to screw any old premature embryo that he's brought to full adult growth within 1.5 months. What goes up must come down though, and after a little while she starts to age rapidly, and it turns out that the only thing to stop her aging is some gland juice from a 6-month-old embryo. We know this because Victoria, for so she's been christened, in a hilarious fucking scene in a room full of computers the size of cars, plugged in the question, how do I stop myself from aging? And it fucking spits out the answer, as computers were wont to do in the 70s. You need some fucking gland juice from a 6-month embryo. At first she hires a pregnant prostitute whose baby is dead in utero. We know this because she broke into a doctor's office and got her records. So she attempts a cesarean to get this already deceased. Jesus Christ, I'm saying these words like, oh my God. Anyway, the cesarean goes wrong, the prostitute dies, and she has to turn in her desperation to Rock's daughter-in-law, who is, dun dun dun, 6 months pregnant. It does all end eventually in grisly hilarity. There's a fucking insane ending that almost made it worth ploughing through this garbage. There's a big fucking standoff at the end with Victoria, Rock there, Rock's son, his daughter-in-law on the operating table, and her 8-month-old embryo floating in a tank in the middle of all of them, with her with a scalpel ready to cut the cord and get the gland juice to save herself. There's a fight. The son gets stabbed. The little tank goes crashing to the floor, spilling out this little embryo. Rock chases Victoria in quite a good car chase, actually. The stunt people did an amazing work with the car chase, and flips the car while she's driving the car, aging rapidly. She's now an old crone. There's a car crash. Rock drags her from the wreckage and tries to drown her, and it ends with an octogenarian Victoria crawling away from the crash, going into labour with her rapidly growing icky fuck baby, whilst Rock is arrested for attempted murder and screams at the skies that they both need to die. And I know how he feels. But you don't have to take my word for it. For one, this movie is now in the public domain, although I've got no idea what the public would do with this movie. You can see it here on YouTube for yourself if you want to. And if you don't want to take my word for it, I like to try and round these reviews off with alternate viewpoints taken from Internet Movie Database user reviewers. D.B. Burrows says, not bad, but dated film seems more like a teen TV movie than anything else. Rock Hudson stumbles upon a means of rapidly growing fetuses after he hits a dog with his car. He made the discovery after he tries to save the dog's pups. Taking the experiment one step farther from dogs, he grows a human fetus which turns into Barbara Carrera, who seems to spring to adulthood almost overnight. Unfortunately, the rapid growth keeps her emotionally young, and she also aging much faster than anyone realizes. Sci-fi horror film is the sort of thing that would have ended up on TV if it wasn't for the star and the nudity. It's actually not a bad little film, but it's the sort of thing that's been done at least a dozen times before. Worth a look if you run across it on an undemanding night, but nothing you need to search out unless you're a fan of Hudson or one of its other stars. Far be it for me to contradict one of these other reviewers. I don't normally do this, but I would suggest if you are a fan of Rock Hudson, you might want to consider avoiding this movie.